Daniel Kies is the author of Flowers for Algernon. You see that cute little mouse? It's so fluffy. The genre of this book is science fiction, but I also think it's a little romance and melodrama. Very sad and romantic. It's a little inappropriate too. And this is actually the winner of Hugo and the Nebula Award. I really don't know what that is, but I guess it's good. And there's actually a picture of Daniel Kies right here. It's really small. But doesn't he look pretty old? That is because this book was published 1966. That was like 50 years ago or something. Really old. But this is a really good book. And I want to mention something really peculiar about this book. You know how some books have chapters, most books do, and other books like Wonder, they have different perspectives. But this one is so different. It comes out as a journal. So it's as I write a journal, May 20th. It's kind of like that. See, in the beginning, look at his spelling and grammar. This is towards the middle. Better. But see that progress report 11? So he is forced to write that because he is under procedure. And at the very end, his bad spelling is back. Wonder what happened. This is a very interesting book. At first, when I picked up this book, I'm like, Flowers for Algernon, and there's a mouse. Well, this mouse is Algernon. And the mouse isn't the main character, thank goodness. The main character is Charlie Gordon. And he is a 32-year-old man, but he was born with an unusually low IQ, so he's kind of mentally disabled / retarded, if you want to say it in a bad way. So, however, he's lucky because Dr. Strauss and Professor Niemer, and they both created a procedure and a surgery that can maybe help cure his sickness. So he decides to do it. He's like, I want to get normal. I want to be smarter like my friends. Because he works at a bakery, He gets $11 a week, I think. It says in the first book. That's actually a lot. But everyone likes him, even though he's kind of stupid because, they can make fun of him and he doesn't even know that. So it's pretty sad. And while he's going through that brain surgery, where the doctors go snip, 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 and they make him smarter, he also goes to grammar and punctuation and spelling classes with Miss Kinnian. Her first name is Alice. Eventually, Charlie falls in love with her. So that's where the little inappropriate part comes in. Maybe rated R about. But even the romance part is very important because I really don't want to spoil this for you, but in the beginning, I showed you he has horrible spelling. After he learned that from Miss Kinnian, he has awesome spelling. And in the beginning, I actually thought that the author was a horrible speller. Because at first I opened this book, I'm like, that's not how you spell progress or report. But then I realized later that it's Charlie talking. And you saw towards the end that he had the same mistakes that he did in the beginning, right? Man, I really don't want to spoil this for you, but I think I kind of have to, because if I don't, then it won't explain the whole story. So what happens is he reaches his high peak, and his IQ of 68 triples. And he has an IQ of 180 something. That's not even humanly impossible. That's insane. That's crazy genius, smart. I wish I was that smart. But a normal person's IQ is about 110-ish. And then towards the middle, and he was 185 IQ, and he was super smart. But then the thing is that as he became smarter, he surpassed everyone's intellectual. So everyone started disliking him. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly like this? Don't correct me in my grammar or anything. They like the old Charlie. They like the playful old Charlie. But now that he's become all professor-like, no one likes him anymore because, no one likes a scolding friend. So that part was very sad. However, this is the important part. The reason why there's Algernon here, the white mouse, was because in the beginning, before Charlie did his surgery, Professor Niemer and Dr. Strauss tested the serum on Algernon first. And Algernon is a really smart mouse now. So when Charlie first came in, they made him race Algernon. Not in like an actual running race, a maze. So for Algernon, they actually had a small model maze with a cheese at the back. For Charlie, they gave him a complicated paper maze. And for weeks and weeks, Algernon always beat him because Charlie was kind of stupid and Algernon was a really smart mouse. Mice aren't really smart, just saying. So, however, in the end, Algernon gets super smart and Charlie beats him actually a lot. But Algernon starts to deteriorate. If you do not know what that means, is that he starts to go back to the way he was. He starts to get dumber again. He's not smart anymore. He's a stupid mouse. He can't get through the maze. So Charlie is worried that that same thing will happen to him. Well, spoiler alert, it does. And in the end, Algernon dies. And I know what you're thinking. Charlie dies! No, he doesn't. He doesn't die. But this title is very touching to me. It's not any hard title where you have to interpret it to figure it out, like, what does this mean? It's not something like that. It's just very simple because at the end, when Charlie gets dumber and dumber, like Algernon, he even starts to go lower. So he has a lower IQ of 68, sorry. And that's a really low IQ. So he has like 40 something IQ. And people don't like him anymore because, first impressions really matter. So he has no friends, and his romantic affairs all gone with Faye, his neighbor, with Alice, and no one likes him anymore because he got super smart and is super dumb. Sudden change for them. So what Charlie decides to do is he wants to move out of New York. He doesn't want to see his family anymore. He doesn't want to see his friends. He wants to start a new life, I guess, with new people who can actually understand him. So the story ends kind of like Charlie's last request is, I'm moving out of New York, but he says, please leave flowers at Algernon's grave. So that is why it's called Flowers for Algernon. When I read that, I'm like, why would you get flowers for a mouse? But it really makes sense because Algernon is kind of like Charlie, except, he doesn't have emotions and all that. But he might. They're both living people or things, and they probably both have feelings, and they're getting experimented on. They're like lab rats. Well, he's a rat, but not Charlie. And Charlie felt bad about that because one of the people, Dr. Strauss and Professor Niemer, was really nice to him at Charlie because they would make a lot of money if it actually worked. They didn't actually care about Charlie. They just pretended to. They're like, oh, Charlie, you get so much better, But inside, they were thinking, oh, this is going to get us a lot of money. We're going to be rich. So that's the kind of antagonist, I guess. But there's no one specific antagonist because out of all the characters, all of them switch around. They're like, first a protagonist and then an antagonist. So it's like really confusing there. But in the end, the bad guys go on the bad side and the good guys go on the good side. And the theme I learned from this was the treatment of the mentally disabled. Daniel Keyes You're a great writer, by the way. He was actually influenced by one of his classmates. He was mentally disabled, mentally ill, and he was very stupid. People were making fun of him. They're like, ha ha ha, right? So that's what inspired Daniel Keyes to write this. Also, he was forced to do a job that he didn't like by his parents. So that's the theme, right? Let's get back to that. So treating the mentally disabled. I am actually a warm-hearted person, not to brag or anything, but if you actually get to know me, I like to help people out. So when there's like a homeless on the street, I give them money, and like if I see the mentally disabled, I don't go like, ew, like stay away from them. I try to help them. So that's why this book really got to me, and I really like this book because I think that treating the mentally ill, even the physically ill, is very important because you're all human, and what would you do if you were in that person's position? Think about that in someone else's shoe. And that's what I thought reading this book. This is a very good book, except for the inappropriate parts. It really gets to your heart. It reaches the deep side of you, and you can learn a lot of lessons and themes from this book. The symbol for the book Flowers for Algernon is a maze. I do this one. Very simple one. There are two main reasons why I think that the maze is the symbol and not anything else. The first reason is because of this cute little mouse named Algernon. The second reason is because of Charlie. But let's start with the cute thing. So the first reason is because Algernon constantly has to go through the maze to get the cheese because he's probably really hungry. And he did that for years and years just to sacrifice himself for other humans who were born with an abnormally low IQ, like Charlie. So if Algernon didn't exist and he wasn't chosen to participate in this experiment, running through the maze all these years, then Charlie and none of the characters would have been here. So I think that's one of the reasons why Algernon is on the front cover and not any other character like Charlie. I really like the smells. Second reason is because of Charlie. Now here is the kind of complicated one. See this maze? This is a very simple maze compared to the other ones on Google Images or wherever you go. And once you click on a very complicated and hard maze with all these small lines and everything, then you can't get through it. It's like, where should I go? Where should I make the first turn? Where should I make that? And that is exactly how I think that Charlie's mind is processed. Because at the beginning of the book, when Charlie is 32 years old, he is at the start line. Start. And as he gets throughout the book, then he starts progressing. But he doesn't know where to make the first turn. See, there's two passageways from the start. And that is exactly the decision of whether he should do the surgery or not to get smarter. And he's like, oh, I know this. This is so easy. I'm gonna do it, of course. I mean, like, even it might cost money. I want to be normal. I want to have friends. I want to be smart and stuff. He makes the first right turn. And then he keeps going. He knows where to go. And then he stops. Because that's where his second turn is. And it keeps going on forever and ever throughout this pretty thick 300-page book. And he makes so many twists and turns. Some of them are so sudden, some of them are obvious. And some of the sudden ones are when the professors, Dr. Strauss and Professor Niemer, said that you are lucky that you have been chosen for the experiment. Because if you didn't do the surgery, it's like you didn't live before you had the surgery. Charlie was like, he wasn't like that. But he was very mad because he's like, I had a life before the surgery. I had a family. I had friends too. And that just infuriated him. That is the most difficult decision of the whole maze. So that's why I think that those two reasons are why the symbol for Flowers for Algernon, which is a great book, is in here. There's one more thing I want to add, kind of has to do with the symbol, is that Dr. Strauss and Professor Niemer are kind of like the same personality. All they want is Mula. After they get theirs, they're like, oh, who cares if you're, who cares if you deteriorate, as long as we get money. We get some money, right? Like, oh no, you don't get any. It's all our share. So I really, really hated those characters. I don't like those bad people. Charlie was very pitiful, I can say. Even though he's not an actual character in real life, he might be. But yeah, that's the symbol of Flowers for Algernon. And the bottom red box right here is just basically a synopsis of what I said just right now. Like why the maze is the symbol, and the two reasons, first Algernon and then Charlie. So I hope you read this book. It teaches you a lot of lessons, very heartbreaking and warm-hearted story. And enjoy!